everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Denpal Season 2, Signal to Sales, the podcast where we delve into the intricate strategies and tactics that fuel demand generation in today's dynamic B2B landscape. I'm your host, Shubhra Sinha, VP Marketing at Denave, a global leader in revenue acceleration. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce a very special guest, Sam Dunning, the innovative founder of Breaking B2B. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, Shubhra, appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, same here. Breaking B2B. Love the name, by the way. What problem does your company solve in the B2B marketing landscape, Sam?
Yeah, great question. Appreciate it. So we essentially work with B2B SaaS, B2B tech, and the odd service business that are usually tired, perhaps a bit annoyed that every time someone searches for what they do on Google, the service they provide, the offer they provide, the problem they fix, or maybe they're comparing them to alternatives, they'll see their competitors ahead of them in the ranking results, meaning that they're stealing organic traffic, mind share, brand reputation, but most importantly, demos or lead requests around the clock, 24/7. Or perhaps they're already investing a little bit into SEO, content marketing, or paid media, driving a ton of traffic to their website. But the website's failing to convert that traffic into a healthy flow of inbound opportunities, be it sales calls, demos, or whatever the inbound lead format they go for. So they're missing out on a lot of opportunities. And we fix that with a bit of an unusual approach to SEO and content marketing.
Amazing. That kind of really strikes a chord, Sam. We encounter similar challenge statements frequently at Denave. And so I'll just delve into our conversation. And before we go deep into the website and SEO strategies, let's just look at it from a distance first. So, when we talk about the marketing landscape, it has undoubtedly evolved at a breakneck pace in the recent years. And there have been heated debates around inbound versus outbound marketing, and then people have taken sides on which one's here to stay and or which one's more effective. So what's your perspective on this, Sam?
I'm one of those sick SEO inbound people that actually believes very much in outbound is alive, inbound is alive, demand gen is alive. I'm very much of the mindset because I love to run experiments as a founder. I've got the freedom to almost run any kind of marketing campaign I want, as long as I can physically do it with my own sweat equity or invest in it. So I'm in quite a fortunate space in that mindset. So I've trialed loads of stuff myself. And I'm very much of the belief that if your prospects are receptive to the channel, doesn't matter what the channel is, if they're receptive to it and they respond to it, then it can work. So as an example, of course, I'm a preacher of SEO and content marketing because that's what my agency does for B2B and SaaS. But I've ran all kinds of weird experiments. I've ran outbound cold call campaigns specifically to CMOs and VPs at fast growth tech companies. Loads of people say on LinkedIn that it doesn't work. Well, it does. In fact, those folks are very receptive to cold calls many times because they get so few of them. And then likewise, I've done a bunch of demand gen, done a bunch of weird inbound marketing experiments too. So quite often are your prospects hanging out or available? Do they have mental availability within that channel? If they do, it can work. If not, it can't. But the thing is, we can dive into some of this stuff as well. A lot of it's an ecosystem. So if someone is more familiar with your brand, i.e. you've built up demand through demand generation or demand creation, or they've seen you flash up a lot in the Google search results through inbound, and then you reach out to them cold, be it LinkedIn, be it cold call, be it cold email, they're going to be a bit more receptive to it subliminally because they've seen your brand, they've heard the problems you fix and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm one of those weird inbound marketers that actually very much believes in an all-bound strategy, as I believe they all complement each other when taken with the right approach and when you peel back the layers and take the time to understand where your dream clients are actually hanging out.
Actually, it's amusing because I often find people in my conversations yearning for a definitive winner, in the inbound versus outbound marketing duel. Now, reality, I agree with you, is that both methodologies have their own merits. Inbound excels at long-term nurturing and building trust. Outbound can yield swift results when the targeting is highly effective and the strategy is correct. Now, marketers love new buzzwords. So now there's this new terminology called all bound, which essentially represents a hybrid approach. So, what's your take on this terminology, and do you think this terminology makes any sense?
I do. In fact, we had someone on my podcast recently actually to talk about a similar
Yes.
kind of term, and I'm all for it. Really, it's like I mean, often where us marketers go wrong is we try to spread ourselves too thin, especially in the tech world. Like marketing teams are often quite small unless we get to kind of mid-market and enterprise level companies. We kind of tons of marketers on the team, but then of course there's a lot more red tape. I'm used to working with kind of small marketing teams of 2, 3 similar, where they've got to get super scrappy. So sometimes it is an easy mistake to spread yourself too thin in the sense that you're trying to do all these channels. And as a result, the amount of content that you put out is perhaps limited on each channel and maybe not the best quality, not really resonating with your target clients, aka the folks you want to build trust in you and buy your stuff. So yeah, I'm very much of an all-bound, but a lot of it comes back to the fundamentals. So doing prospect, doing customer research, really taking the time to understand where they get their trusted information and those instant no-brainer channels. So are your prospects going to Google search? Are they hanging out on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Are they at trade events? Do they maybe hang out in Slack communities or go somewhere else? Once you can get those 3, 4 main pillars and kind of start working off that, if you're, yes, by all means, if you're nailing those 3 or 4 fundamental channels that your prospects are really receptive to and that they trust, brilliant. Go for all bound, start firing up an outbound campaign, start doing extra additional channels. But I think all bound's great in theory. By all means, try and be everywhere that your prospects are, but at the same time, be realistic. Like if you're trying to do all these channels and spread yourself or your team super thin, you've got to be a bit mindful that you're probably not going to have the impact that you might want. So it's getting the best of both worlds, really.
True. So, while I was reading up and researching for our conversation today, I even came across the data that said, there's a recent HubSpot study that revealed the companies employing all-bound marketing strategies witness a 20% uptick in lead conversion rates compared to those that just rely on one method. Now, of course, it has too many riders attached. And like you said, it shouldn't be that you, basically just exhaust all your resources and you're not doing one thing correctly. But the essence of Allbound, of course, is to draw in prospects with valuable content while simultaneously being proactive in reaching out to decision makers. It's about, of course, fostering relationships, creating comprehensive, engaging experience for your target audience. So very much in line with what you just said. Now it's time for us to just dive into the specifics. At Denave, of course, we firmly believe in the effectiveness of time-tested B2B marketing strategies. What are some of your tried and tested true tactics that you definitely rely on when it comes to the B2B side of things?
Yeah. I mean, I can share what we do ourselves and share what we're doing for some clients and share personally what I do for my brand, Breaking B2B. So I'm naturally going to be biased as I provide SEO to B2B and SaaS companies. So SEO is kind of our main one when it comes tactically speaking. Why? Well, I suppose because I've been messing around with websites and organic search for 11, 12, maybe even 13 years. It's just what I know. And I've been through the pain myself as a solo founder. I've been through the pain of dealing with tons of terrible leads that come, whether that's from my own self-generation, whether that's from marketing, whether that's from ads. And I've been through the time wasting of kind of calling up these leads or scheduling Zooms with these leads and them just not being fruitful or resulting in a solid sales conversation. So having been through the hardships, I've learned kind of what works and what doesn't when it comes to driving inbound opportunities. So, I mean, SEO is great, but it's got to have a targeted approach, aka so many SEO mistakes. Perhaps we can chat about in a bit, where kind of folks go for too top funnel terms or too broad terms, and as a result, they're driving traffic to their website, but it's not targeted. So it's not niche enough to the actual kind of target prospects they actually want to engage with, aka the people that have the problem they fix, appreciate the impact of not fixing it, and actually have the cash and desire to invest in the offer. So getting really specific with that with your SEO campaign is something that a lot neglect. So that's something we do, kind of make sure we're drilling down to the folks that are most likely to have an appetite for our offerings. So that's a big part of our strategy, and likewise for clients. And then I suppose the website itself is the foundation of everything. So actually having a website that's truly your best salesperson, and the fact that it's built on solid customer research. So a big thing when it comes to B2B websites is so many teams actually neglect to do prospect or customer research. So basically guessing what they think is going to look good or sound good or resonate with target clients, especially on messaging and copy for their website homepage. So, I mean, I don't know about yourself, Shubha, but how many times have I been on perhaps a technology website or a SaaS website and I've read their headline and it's been something like, we're an all-in-one revenue generating 100x platform for wizardry to turbo drive your revenues today. And I've read their headline and I've scrolled down probably past the hero area, scroll down 2/3 down their homepage, and I'm still not actually sure what they do, how it's going to help me, or the problem that they're going to solve for me. And if I'm finding them perhaps for an ad or through a referral or through social, wherever I stumble upon them, and I'm unclear as to what they do, I'd imagine a lot of their target prospects are the same. So I'm just going to bounce off and head to a competitor that's a lot clearer and crisper with their messaging and really shares what they do. So having a website that kind of attracts, resonates, clearly shares what you do, why you, problem you solve, shares kind of proof of results, pricing, ideally your offer in action. It's like a live demo or at least screenshots or walkthrough videos or similar, answers common questions, shares proof of impact that you've had for clients, and then makes it super easy for folks to schedule that time with a sales expert or an engineer through some kind of calendar tool. It's just table stakes now in B2B. Yet still many B2B folks just kind of work their website off guesswork or what the exec team think looks good, or maybe what their VCs are telling them to do from the funding side. So as a result, it's just not resonating properly with prospects. And when you don't resonate with kind of problems, desires, goals, motivations of target clients, you just ain't going to convert at the levels you want to be converting at. So those two fundamental ones. And then I suppose a big one for myself and breaking B2B is LinkedIn. Right. So I'm posting.
I was waiting for that.
I'm posting all kinds of crazy stuff on LinkedIn. So again, I've got the freedom to do this being a founder. So I'll post anything from skits to long form posts to how-tos. But a lot of my strategy on LinkedIn these days is grab someone's attention first. So in this case, it might be making myself into a common meme, sticking my head on there. And then maybe it's me digging out a grave and then people watching me saying, SEO is dead. And then it's me with a shovel saying, this is me grabbing inbound leads from my clients, like shoveling at it. So something stupid that catches the attention. But then I'll mix that with like a long form text post where I'll break down like the exact strategies we're using for clients step by step to kind of rank on Google and build pages that convert. Or I do kind of experiments as well on LinkedIn. So some of our recent series have been things like asking the public B2B marketing questions, where I just grab my portable microphone, go out with my videographer friend and go to local towns and cities and ask folks like, what do you think SEO is? Or what do you think an MQL is? Or what is the point of LinkedIn? Just to get funny reactions. I've seen similar in B2C and I thought it'd be quite fun to try in B2B. Yeah, and aside from that, most of my time on LinkedIn content is either kind of standing out, doing something a bit different, and then also educating, of course, so sharing the strategies we use for clients. So builds a bit of trust, builds a bit of proof. So those are three core fundamental channels. But then I also have, as you touched on, the podcast, Breaking B2B.
Right.
So a bit like this. I think we're roughly 403 episodes and 4 years in. So I've been doing it a little while. And that is a solid way to get pillar content, in the sense that each week I either do a guest episode every Monday. So I'll interview a bit like this, a a marketing leader, and I'll just get them to deep dive into one strategy that's working really well for them. And then we'll break that down for the audience step by step with actionable tips. Or I'll do a solo episode, and that could be a weird SEO strategy. It could be one of the experiments I'm running at Breaking B2B and how that fared, whether it was good, whether it was bad, whether it was messy, cold calling, cold email, weird SEO ranking strategy, whatever. And that's the format, really. And that gives us a long form episode every Monday that we put out. And then I'll also, like yourself, snip that up into video clips and post it on the website and post it on LinkedIn and such. So those are the core ones. But then I also run experiments. So like I was saying earlier, we'll trial out a bit unusual cold email campaigns. We've tried cold call campaigns. We do some of the funny, unusual video series. And I suppose one of the other fundamentals is we do quite a lot of partnerships. The partnerships in the sense that this is really good for any B2B company, finding folks that are going after the same ICP, the same ideal client profile as you, but in non-competitive industries. So, for example, I partner with a company called Impactable. You might have seen the founder, Justin Rowe, talking about LinkedIn ads on LinkedIn. And essentially, anytime someone needs LinkedIn ads, I'll send them their way. And anytime someone needs SEO, they'll send them my way. But it's not just for passing business each way. We also create content together. We've built backlinks together. We've built articles on each other's websites. We've created podcasts and stuff. So these kind of relationships are a really good way to kind of strike up conversations with folks that are going after similar clients, send business each other's way, build content together, and also get some SEO bang for buck by kind of building links, building decent media and all that good stuff. So I'll take a breath there, as I know I've shared a few, but I'm happy to go deeper on any of those.
That was very, very insightful. The good part is that you've also kind of broken it down but we'll deep dive a little more into each of these, especially the website and the SEO piece as we go along. I think one of the key strategies that we at Denave we also employ is merging data-driven insights with highly targeted messaging. So when you talk about email messaging or even LinkedIn outreach and stuff, eventually it's just not merely just sending out content or generating content and pushing it out. It's about ensuring that these touch points reach the right audience at the right moment. That moment is also very important, which pretty much is what the whole sales intelligence piece or the data intelligence is what throws at you. And when it comes to understanding needs, website often serves as the first impression a prospect has with your company. Now, Sam, you're of course known for crafting high conversion websites. And so based on your experience, what are some of the major pitfalls marketers encounter when they're designing the websites?
Pretty much the opposite of what I said just now. So yeah, I mean, it's ego and guesswork. Those are probably the two killers of websites. And
also pleasing the management.
Exactly. So, and that could be higher up. That could be exec ego, or it could be funding VC's ego, or whatever it may be. And that can be good for certain levels. And that sometimes in certain businesses, you have to play by those rules. But the problem is when a target client might land on your website and might read something like, "We've just raised 100 million round funding," or "We're the number one tool in this category for doing this. We're the best ever," or something like that. It's like, well, best to who? Like, there's so many technology B2B websites in general on the headline that just says we're the best. Like, where's the proof? Why should I believe you? Like, why you? And that's what happens often as a result, as B2B execs or similar kind of building out their content, their messaging strategy based on kind of their own personal beliefs or what they think is going to be look good, sound good, look cool. When, as I touched on a little bit earlier, the crux and the fundamentals of where websites go wrong is they just completely neglect customer research, or they did it, but it's about 5-10 years out of date. And there's a really useful exercise that I'd encourage folks to do if you've got access to it. And that is to grab ideally 5 to 10, but I think the sweet spot's about 8 of recently won customers. So recently onboarded clients. And the reason you want recently won ones is they're going to have less of a bias to you. Because if you interview kind of established customers, they're going to love you. They're not going to say anything wrong. And the reason you want recently won clients is so you can, this is good not just for the website, but for general B2B marketing and messaging know-how, is you can ask them questions like understanding the problem they're facing. Like what was the problem or frustration that you were facing that made you realize that you had to do something about it? And once you lean into that, you could say, well, what was the tipping point where that issue was getting so annoying that you then realized that you had to actually do something about it now? And let's pretend maybe you're a CRM software provider. Maybe it was, we're doing stuff manually in spreadsheets and we're trying to input all the data from our finance team to our sales team, and we're burning like 2 hours every day. And as a result, staff started to churn because they got so frustrated with this process, and they started to move over to competitors. Not only that, but they were losing time. We were losing cash flow because we couldn't process invoices quick enough and all this kind of stuff. And once you kind of learn that and you learn common problems that are fluent throughout prospects, you can start to dive into what's actually useful for your messaging, not just for your website, but for your ads. So questions like that, like also things like what made you choose us over other competitors? Like what was that kind of main offering that stood out to you, or what was the main things that stood out to you? And also what were the top 2 or 3 competitors you were evaluating when you chose us? So those kind of things are useful. And then also things like what's important to you, specifically to a website, like what's most important to you when evaluating a website in our sector. And like as an example, because I've interviewed now maybe 403 B2B marketers on Breaking B2B, I ask most marketers that come on that question, like what's most important. And from that, they've said, kind of knowing what you do, how you help, and why you. I want to see some results. I want to see you offer an action or a demo of some sort. I want to see pricing. And then I'll make it. I want it easy for me to get in touch. And those 5 things are just table stakes that I've learned for B2B sites. But knowing what's the nuances of your specific offering. So maybe you're in, I don't know, something outside of SaaS, like engineering or whatever it may be in B2B. So knowing what those buyers care about seeing. And then also questions like, what do you feel is missing on our existing website is a really good one. And they might say, well, your case studies are a bit thin, or you're not actually sharing the price, so I've got to get in touch to learn it, or I'd love to see the under the bonnet of your product, so I'd love to see some kind of live demo or basic walkthrough before I speak to a salesperson, or I found that you didn't really address some of my questions, so I ended up wasting 30 minutes on a sales call when I really wanted to know that beforehand. So that's useful. So those kind of questions. And then if you can interview 7, 8 recently won customers and record those sessions, you'll start to notice patterns in their answers. So you'll see like the same things come up 3 or 4 times, and those are the ones you want to note down. And of course, you can use an AI tool like Fathom or whatever it may be to help you with that. And when you get the patterns, that's when you know that that's something you've got to use. And that might be, this is the problem that keeps coming up. This is why folks choose us. This is why they decided to use us as opposed to a competitor. This is what they feel is missing on our website. And then from that, you can layer that into your messaging. So this is the real problem we fix. This is the impact it has on someone's business. This is why they choose us. And now that's going to be gold dust for things like your website homepage headline, your USPs, the benefits you provide. Because rather than just saying like, we're the best in class for this tool on your homepage, you're actually saying like, you could resonate specifically with their problem, like struggling with X. Like this is what we do to fix Y, and this is why us. Like, that's literally how I made my headline. B2B SEO and websites for revenue, not vanity, because most prospects come to us frustrated that they're working with an agency and they're driving traffic, but it's not converting. So it just made sense. Like if you can label that problem into a headline that's crisp and specific and shares why you, super useful. Super useful. That's one of the biggest mistakes on websites, skipping customer research. And another one is pushing quote unquote leads at all costs. So that's like using tactics like gating all the main assets on your website that folks want to see before they're ready to speak to a salesperson. So maybe you're gating pricing, you're getting case studies, you're getting a demo, basically all those juicy assets that people want to see first before they're ready to speak to a salesperson is kind of another one. So those are probably some of the biggest peeves, and part of that is just being a bit more transparent with your website. And the thing is, like, sometimes you've got to put yourself into a prospect's shoes. Like imagine you had a problem. Like imagine if we go back to the CRM example. So imagine you were working with some kind of basic tool or basic spreadsheet or whatever, and it was really frustrating and it was costing you like time every week. It was maybe costing you headcount as a result. You were leaking revenue, and you thought, well, I need to fix this CRM. It's like a must-have. But I'm going onto vendors' websites and I can't actually see their tool. I can't see their pricing. I can't see what they do. I can't answer my questions. Everything is forcing me to speak to a salesperson before I have that information. If it was me, I would just skip to a competitor that's more transparent. And I'd imagine if you're doing the same, a lot of your B2B prospects are probably going to be in a similar boat. So, if you do customer research, if you take that time to then understand those points and then weave that into your website messaging and design, you're just going to be so much further ahead of your competitors.
Right. I think I'll just add one more pitfall there based on my experience and conversation with so many marketers. I think prioritizing competition research over customer research. What that leads to is that you end up creating Me Too websites. You just hope and believe that somebody doing a better job than you out there has done all the parts and has answered all the tough questions, and you don't need to repeat. That's more like cheating in examination. So you just use that as a base, and then you just build something on it. You change the words, but eventually there's so many at least SaaS websites out there that you go out look for. They are pretty much saying the same thing, and then as a prospect you wonder who's different and why are they different. So I think I would probably rank that at one. And of course, what you've called out are definite requirements for marketers to look at, because if you do not answer hard questions, if you do not know your prospect, and if you really can't if you really don't know your differentiator, then the website's not going to solve any problem. And then, of course, the quality of leads will remain a challenge. Do you agree with that, Sam?
Oh yeah. It's an easy trap to fall in, isn't it? Kind of like you mentioned there, looking at your competitors and automatically assuming. Like that's something I'm guilty of. Certainly have been guilty of in past years. Just assuming that because they're a competitor and they appear to be doing well, therefore their website must be like this awesome inbound engine.
Yeah.
And quite often when you then get to speak to the marketers behind that, you'll find out that it's struggling to drive pipeline, and that the leads maybe that are coming through are just unqualified and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, if you can do customer research, is going to be a superpower for you. And I suppose the other thing is to think of your website as a living organism, and likewise to think of customer research as an ongoing feedback loop. So it's not really a one and done. It's something you should make note to do every few months. And likewise, if you're constantly taking feedback on your website and testing things and seeing what works, what doesn't, then you can constantly kind of make those small shifts on your site that's going to see those incremental improvements over time. And the only time I'd say to ignore my advice completely is if you're a bootstrap founder and you just need a website up quickly. Completely ignore me. Just put something basic up that looks professional, has your homepage, has your results, has your pricing.
Yeah.
It's easy to get in touch, like 4 or 5 pages. Just do that to start with and focus on driving revenue. Ignore everything else I've said if you're brand new and you're bootstrapped.
Excellent points. And of course, if I have to become a little more specific over here, and my next question is more about, how do you drive an action? So what are some of the creative and effective strategies for implementing call to action CTAs on your website? What are the best practices there? Because sometimes you see these websites that are overloaded with CTAs or taking you in different directions, basically thinking that, okay, a prospect has just landed, let me just bombard them with everything that's out there on my website and take them to different places and put all the strategies out there in one place for the prospect to also get confused and then just walk off. So what, according to you, are those time-tested strategies and your CTA strategies?
Yeah, my main word for those would be relevancy. So, for example, on your homepage, relevancy and consistency really of call to actions. So, for example, most SaaS sites is book a demo, or some now are moving into a mix of book a demo as well as take a tour. So some folks that have got some kind of live demo that you can trial with the take a tour, and then maybe halfway through it cuts off, then you have to book a full demo or put in your contact information if you want to see the full thing. But yeah, the main thing is keep them consistent. So if you've got like on one page book a demo, and on another page it's book a call, and the next page it's talk to sales, and next time it's fill an inquiry form or something like that, that's a little bit confusing. So I'd probably stick to one core one, and typically that book a demo or that book a call is going to be stuck in the top right of your menu nav. It's probably going to be a standout color. And as you scroll, that top line menu nav is going to be fixed to your page. So no matter where you are on the website, that menu nav is stuck there along with the call to action, so you can easily access it for both mobile view and desktop view. And then just, standard things like on your homepage hero, probably just having one main fixed call to action for book a demo. Or maybe you've got another one that's like view a live tour underneath. Or if you're service based, like view our results, something like that. So stick into one or two main CTAs. And then likewise, as you scroll, maybe below the fold, maybe having one more that's either kind of view client case studies, because typically just as you go below the fold, you've got kind of, we've worked with these logos, or we work with kind of 10,000 other companies like yours. And then you've got the logo bar. Then you've probably got below the fold, like, are you struggling with these 3 problems? And then below that, you've probably got, these are the 3 solutions that hit that problem. And maybe you've got, these are the ICPs that we help. And then maybe you've got kind of a CTA to view case studies or link through to the book a demo or book a call. So most of it is making it relevant to the content that's there, but also keeping it consistent. And then I suppose another issue I see is on blog articles. So for example, on blogs, like if they're top of funnel information blogs, like how to do something or what is something, or those kind of information based queries, that you're then reading an article that's, yeah, fine. It might have some product value. So it might say this is one way of doing it, or you could then address this problem by investing in our offer. But because they're quite top of funnel kind of information based searches, like how to do something, what is the best way to do this, it's probably that person, if they found you through a Google search trying to fix that problem, they're probably not ready for a demo just yet. So a more relevant call to action might be grabbing a lead magnet, or checking out the podcast that's maybe got more content on the subject, or going into the YouTube channel, or maybe signing up to the email list where I get one tip that specifically tackles this area every week. So tailoring that CTA that's going to be relevant to what the content they're consuming. And then likewise, if they're on a bottom of funnel article, like maybe they're searching for competitor alternatives, or they're searching for the best, go back to CRM, like best CRM for sales folks or something like that, and they've come onto your article and it's a listicle, like a product listicle, the top 10 CRM for B2B salespeople, and they see yours positioned top, then yeah, by all means have a call to action for book a demo, because that prospect's got a lot more sales and commercial intent. So a lot of the time it's kind of figuring out where your prospect is in the journey and making sure the CTA is relevant. And also it's going to benefit your business, because if you're sticking book a demo and book a call on everything, and it's kind of real information based content, it's like, it's not going to work. So you might as well just tailor something that's relevant to where they are in their journey, or that's going to be helpful to them. And then you're more likely to keep them in your ecosystem. So they might check out your podcast, check out your YouTube channel, sign up to your email, consume your content. You can always retarget them. And then when they're ready, you can stay top of mind. But yeah, those are the main ones. And let's not forget, people aren't stupid. They know how to book a demo. So if you've got it fixed in your main menu and it's easy to access, like people know how to speak to a salesperson if they're ready.
Yeah, they don't have to be reminded after every fold.
You don't need like an all single dancing flashing message. Book a demo today.
Talk to me. Yeah, right. Solid advice there, Sam. Now moving on to search engine optimization, or SEO, how we call it. Often it is, I think, the neglected. We spoke about this earlier as well. And so marketers are so engrossed in paid ads and outbound strategies that they overlook the immense value of organic traffic. And more so, this pressure is built on, creating overnight returns from all the investments. So, the whole focus goes on LinkedIn ads, paid ads, Google ads, all of that, and how are you able to generate quick returns? Now, how
Hmm.
can we bridge this gap and transform SEO into the chief revenue officer's ally? The CRO doesn't really, in many ways, does not feel that SEO is here to give any return. Sometimes those SEO investments, whether those are manpower investments or any inorganic investments, are even overlooked, thinking that it's just for me to drive website traffic, for my brand to be known, but it's not really helping me generate business or add to my
Sure.
revenue goals. So how do we bridge that gap? What are your time-tested strategies there?
Yeah, I suppose that one of the hardest parts of SEO, tactics aside, is what you touched on there, getting leadership buy-in, whether that's with your CRO, your CMO, or other folks in the leadership team. That, from my experience, is the toughest part of SEO, actually getting the buy-in there. And I suppose if you're in a scenario that you outlined just now, i.e., you're already investing in paid media, perhaps you're already doing the common suspects like review sites like G2, Capterra, whatever they may be, maybe doing some LinkedIn ads, maybe you're doing some Google paid search, so some Google AdWords. I suppose the advantage you'd have in that sense is that if you're doing Google AdWords and it was actually driving inbounds, it was driving some demos or some signups, then you could prove the concept there. So you could say, look, let's dive into our Google ads, and we can see that these terms like, I don't know, if we're providing calendar scheduling software, we can see that we're driving inbounds when folks search for like Calendly alternatives or Chili Piper alternatives or competitor one versus competitor two, or if they search for best calendar scheduling software, or if they search for best calendar scheduling for sales teams or whatever our niche, our ICP is, we can say, look, we've got the proof. These ads are actually converting, capturing that demand and driving inbounds. What if we took that to organic search so we didn't have to pay for every single click through? What if we started ranking organically? Yes, it's going to take a bit more time than paid media because we can't just stick an ad up and it's live. But if we could start gaining organic traffic and potentially reducing our cost per acquisition, but also getting 2 bites at the cherry. So when someone does that relevant search, when they have a good level of intent to speak to a salesperson around our offer, what if we could show up twice? Like we have the ad and we have the organic real estate. We've got 2 hits. Like, wouldn't that make sense? But a lot of marketers don't have that luxury. So
Yeah.
then usually the leadership pain that I like to lean on is I position something like, look, the truth is every time a dream client searches for what we do, so in the software world, that might be best X software or software for specific niche you serve, or compares us to an alternative, or maybe has the problem that we fix. Every time they're searching for that on Google, our competitors are showing up ahead of us. Like search for one of these things, you'll see our competitors top 24/7. They're getting those click throughs, they're building that mind share, and they're getting potential leads that we're not. So every time that happens, we're missing out. So if that is that something that we feel is worthwhile, is that something that we feel we want to tackle? That's probably one of the biggest ones that I'd say to leverage. Um, and yeah, that's probably the toughest part of it, getting that leadership buy-in. And then once you've got that, and usually what it takes, from my experience, it usually needs someone on the team that's had experience with organic search and believes in the value. Because if not, a lot of tech companies, a lot of B2B SaaS companies will go with traditional models. Like you said, they'll hire outbound sales teams, they'll go via paid media. It's very rare that folks, unless they're open to SEO or they've had good experience with SEO in the past, that they'll actually opt to it as a channel. Just from the marketers that I've seen, it just doesn't tend to happen that much. So that's why I put out so much content, hopefully trying to show people that there is a better way. But yeah, with that aside, I mean, I'm happy to share some kind of actionable tactics that folks can implement if that's useful.
Yeah.
Cool. So I've got a very simple mind, so a lot of the stuff I share is very straightforward. And like I talked about earlier, from my own pain, from the fact that I've dealt with businesses and websites that generate kind of poor quality leads or just not enough. If I'm running an SEO program, either myself as a marketer or for a client, I want it to drive sales pipeline as quick as humanly possible. So what are the most straightforward ways that you can look at it? Let's say you've got a bit of resource to, or a bit of cash to invest in SEO, whatever. angle it is, fire up a Google sheet or an Excel sheet and
Mhm.
quite literally list out a few columns. And one column might be for the main offers that you want to sell, or the main software pieces or services you want to sell. Second column is for the main niches or industries that you serve best. Not any industries, but ones that historically you've sold well to, have the problem you fix. They actually want to fix the problem and they've got cash to invest in it. That's the next one. The next column is going to be for the main problem that you fix. The main problem, hopefully you've done some customer research, you know why folks, what they struggle with and why they come to you to fix. And then the other one is going to be, the fourth column is going to be your main competitors. Top 3, 4, 5 competitors that always come up in sales calls. Once you've done that, you can start building out what's called long tail commercial intent keywords, or I like to call money keywords, aka what someone's going to search on Google when they're ready to speak to a salesperson around your offer.
Right.
So that might be, if I go back to a common example I use in like the calendar scheduling space, that might be like your competitive terms that you might go for that will be like a long-term one you try to rank for might be like best calendar scheduling software or best calendar scheduling tools or best calendar scheduling platforms or those kind of ones. Those are going to be competitive. You can have a lot of big industry players. Those are probably ones you want to slowly chip away at. But the more niche and specific ones where you drill down into industry are going to be ones that you could see quicker returns on. And that might be like best calendar scheduling tool for sales teams or calendar scheduling for HR teams or calendar scheduling for recruitment teams, those niches that you serve. And then the competitor ones in the software space, the reason you choose those is because you can go for competitor alternative based keywords. And in the calendar scheduling space, that might be HubSpot meeting alternatives, Calendly alternatives, Revenue Hero alternative, Chili Piper alternatives, or Chili Piper pricing or Chili Piper reviews. The reason we do this is because you probably know already, when someone's evaluating B2B software or B2B service, they don't just speak to one team or one company and buy. They usually evaluate 3 or 4 vendors. And a lot of folks are on the fence before they decide to take the plunge and invest. So they'll search for things like competitor reviews, competitor pricing, competitor alternatives. And those are a great way to position your differentiators and drive inbounds. So once we've done that, and those, when we're making those long tail keywords, we'll run them through like a tool like Hrefs or SEMrush, so we can check they've got a little bit of search volume. But typically these will have low traffic. The more niche and specific ones, which is fine. Because a mistake with SEO is that you're going for tons of traffic, but there's no commercial intent behind them. There's no buying intent. But these specifically have buying intent behind them. They'll get less traffic, but that's great because they'll actually result in demos. Once you've done that, you've made your list of prioritized keywords. Then you want to actually, the next simple thing that you can do is literally Google the keyword. So let's say one of the keywords was, I don't know, calendar scheduling for sales teams. We type that on Google Organic Search. We look at the top 3 organic non-paid results, and then we address the intent. What's page intent? Page intent is just looking at the type of page that Google expects to rank. So it could be that it's a product listicle. So it could be that the top 3 results are like the top 10 calendar scheduling software for sales teams, or it could be it's a landing page. So understand what kind of content ranks, so you know what type of page you need to build. And then essentially you want to, my strategy here again is straightforward. Just build a page that's more helpful, more useful, more detailed and comprehensive than whatever is ranking top organic now. So if someone's got a top 10 listicle, I'd say, well, let's go for top 15. Let's assess that page. Typically the way listicles are built, like top 10 alternatives are, they position their own offer as number 1. But the pitfall, the mistakes that are often made is they just talk about how great they are, their features and their benefits, that kind of stuff. But I'd encourage you to think about why folks choose you. So yeah, you do a bit of an intro on that listicle. You'll do you'll share yourself as position 1, but then show your differentiators. So maybe you have like a nice comparison table. This is us versus our main competitor. This is the main kind of reasons folks choose us. Then here's maybe a client review video with a happy testimonial, and then here's an option to drive a demo. And then you have the other 9 or so competitors underneath. So that's a great way to do it. And another mistake that folks make with SEO, especially in B2B and at SaaS and tech websites, is they spend loads of time either because their agencies told them to, or they've read something on technical SEO, which is really a waste of time until you get to websites with thousands of pages. So you can keep it super simple with your tech SEO for these kind of websites. Like all you really need to do is once you've established your target keyword for the page, So if it was like calendar scheduling for sales teams, then you just need that within your URL. So it might be yourdomain.com/calendar-scheduling-for-sales-teams. You need it within your meta title, within your meta description. You want it on one H1, a single H1 for the page, heading tag. Weave it in the rest of your copy. It's pretty much all you need. You don't need to waste hours trying to get your website 1 second or 0.1 second quicker. You don't need to mess around with image alt tags, do all this BS that a lot of folks preach on technical SEO. Get the foundationals right and you'll be fine. It's more important to have a mindset of publishing content. So if you can really exhaust that strategy that I talked about earlier, where you fire up that spreadsheet, you list out all your money keywords, you really exhaust it, that bottom of the funnel, that mid funnel, and then you have a mindset of publishing rather than trying to get perfect. So you think this month we're going to go for, I don't know what's realistic. Maybe we're going to go for 5 pages, 6 pages published. And that's going to be our SEO efforts. We're going to start with whatever's going to be kind of the most likely to drive buying intent. So yeah, that's what I recommend, especially if you're a startup or a company with less red tape. So you're non-enterprise, you can publish stuff a lot faster. You don't have to go through endless kind of approvals to get content out there, to get sign-offs and all that good stuff. So yeah, building out pages to match that strategy is smart. Understanding the intent, like what is ranking on Google at the moment. Is it a landing page? Is it a listicle? Is it a how-to? Is it a blog article? What is it? Okay, we know that's the page type. We need to then look for gaps. We need to look for gaps. What's ranking now? How can we make ours more helpful? Google has a framework called EEAT: experience, expertise, authority, trust. And then the other superpower of SEO that you should consider is not just writing to rank, but writing to resonate. And again, a lot of stuff comes back to customer research. So for this specific topic on this page that we're writing about, how can we show that we really know prospects? So if it's a landing page on an offer, how can we immediately say, we understand your problem, we understand the impact of not fixing it, here is why we're positioned to solve your problem, here's some proof that we've done it for other customers, here's some answers to your common questions that often get brought up on sales calls. We're handling objections, we're handling questions. Here's a YouTube video walkthrough on the topic specifically. How can we really show Google that we're positioned to address this query, but also prospects, that we know what their world is like? And what you'll find as well is that you've probably seen this yourself, but there's a lot of pages that rank in Google search, but sometimes they're just written for robots, or they're walls of text. They're not designed properly. They're not skimmable. They don't really address what you want to know. Like they've got an FAQ section at the bottom, but it doesn't actually answer questions that you might have on a sales call. So it's a lot of the time thinking like, what do prospects actually care about on this topic? And maybe we need to sit down with our sales team, have a coffee, have a beer, and kind of thrash it out. Like, what's relevant on this page? What is a prospect going to resonate with? And aka make them more likely to take a demo if they stumble across this piece of content. So that's a few high level points.
Right. Such great tactics that you've broken down for our listeners today, Sam. Of course, in my own experience, we have multiple inbound lead generation engines running. But what I've seen in my experience is that while we're still figuring out how do we ensure maximum relevance of the SEO leads with a possible business outcome, but the leads that convert, they give us a better deal size. Because I think the whole fact is that half of the sales process is done before the sale actually happens. They've read up about you, they trust you. Your credibility is established. They've researched you thoroughly, because obviously there are studies that say that 70% of B2B buyers, they start their buying process with a Google search. So
Sure.
I think those are the steps that you've already crossed, and by the time they land up with you with a genuine query, the whole point is that then now you just need to focus on making the sale happen rather than making them trust you, establish your credibility on all of that, which is not the case when it is a straightforward paid outreach that you're doing, because you have to go from step one. I think that's the kind of education that I try and impart to the management here when I'm trying to create strategies SEO long term. So the process is started and by the time there's a lead that comes in, you'd have crossed this mile. So hopefully the gestation of the lead would be lower, and we'll be able to make a more concrete conversation, and therefore a better business there. Okay, now let's talk about what the industry is talking about, which is artificial intelligence. Now, of course, with the advent of tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and so many Gen AI tools that are popping up day in and day out nowadays, it just seems that content creation and even website development and even managing like an SEO strategy, it's just become far more, I would say, automated. A single person's job, very straightforward. That's what it's claiming out to be, right? So how do you foresee this evolution, and how you are leveraging all these developments for yourself and for your clients?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose there's a few angles. Like, one is that Google have rolled out fairly recently AI overviews. So for anyone that's not familiar, for some search queries, when you search something on Google, above the fold before you scroll, Google will give an instant automated answer.
Yeah.
Gives you that
Yes.
response. So that's one thing to consider. That's now rolled out, and that takes up a decent amount of real estate for some Google searches. Now, the other thing is, should we be using AI as part of our SEO process? Well, possibly not. Where we found some good and some terrible use cases, especially in kind of a lot of my line of work is with B2B and SaaS companies, is where things go pretty pear-shaped, is where you just rely on it to churn out a ton of content. So maybe you establish like these are a bunch of commercial or money keywords that we think are going to be really useful for us to start ranking for. And we've established that these kind of pages are going to be the ones that we need to build out. So let's kind of type in some very brief outlines into a AI tool, be it ChatGPT or similar, and let's just get this content, churn it out, stick it on a blog article, publish it to our website, and get a load of pages ranking. And the truth is, you might see a ton of traffic, you might see some rankings, you might see some upticks. I've tried some of this stuff, and some pages have ranked quite well, but then with the recent helpful content, a lot of it's been penalized, so a lot of it's gone down.
Yeah.
I've done some of this stuff just for experiment's sake. And the other thing to consider is, even if it does rank, if someone searched for something that's relevant to your offer, and again, like I say, they have that kind of intent, they want to book a demo or speak to a salesperson, if they've landed on your page and it reads stuff like, turbocharge your revenues today with our all-in-one wizardry platform that it's all dancing, all singing, like it's here to tackle every challenge and every need that you may ever have, and it just reads like, this isn't actually how someone would talk. Like, this literally sounds like a crazy robot. I mean, for me, I know it would repel me, and I can imagine for a decent amount of prospects it would as well. It's like,
I'm guilty. I've used words like turbocharge.
I think to use it like every now and then it's okay, but it's like if they're consistent like these really long words that just don't quite add up, and it almost reads like it's someone is, I don't know, down 6 Red Bulls and like started typing this on a crazed hype. You can almost, I mean, it's like LinkedIn comments as well. You can see the ones that are written by AI and just churned out with this kind of wording. So it's going to put a decent amount of prospects off, even if it does rank. They'll suss it out. Like, folks aren't stupid; they can tell if you've churned out content from a robot and you're not actually resonating with them. So you might rank, but you're probably not going to resonate or convert. Or worse, you might rank for a little bit, like some of the experiments I've ran, and then when Google has its next content update related to helpful
Update.
content or similar, you might see everything go crashing down, and then it might take you a long time to get those pages recrawled and back up to where they want to be. So,
Right.
but good use cases are using it as a framework. So establishing, right, we need to make these pages. Maybe I use an AI tool to help me create the outline. Like, so it builds out, I don't know, maybe helps me with the meta tag and description, helps me with some of the heading tags like the H1, H2, etc. Builds out a rough foundation, gives me some bullet points to consider. And now I can pass this to one of my writers, or I can go ahead and write it myself, and I've got like a nice layered foundation there. but I'm not just asking it to pump out all my content and then hoping for the best.
Awesome. Sam, thank you so much. I think you've shared so many insights and learning and practical advices, practical methods of doing it. I think the conversation can keep going on, but we would like to take a break over here with this conversation. And I think I can't thank you enough for ensuring that, like promised, this has been completely action oriented, and we're not talking 30,000 feet, and we're actually trying to share the action points that marketers could take in creating a comprehensive website and even SEO strategy. Before we conclude, I just have this practice of adding one light question at the end of the podcast, just for our listeners to know the other side of our speakers. And, so my question to you is, if you could have the powers of any marketing superhero, let's assume there is one that exists, who would it be, and maybe what would you call it, and what would you do with those powers?
Oh, I've got one, weirdly. So one of my funny, crazy SEO video series that I've done on LinkedIn, and I think it's on our YouTube as well, it's called SEO Man. So every now and then I just dress up in a funny Superman costume, call it SEO Man. And basically
I missed that one.
people laugh at me on the street. Yeah, exactly. People laugh at me on the street, and I'll sometimes go up and give SEO tips and ideas and things like that. So that's probably one that's quite relevant. I'll send you one of the videos, or send you one of the memes later on.
Awesome. That would indeed be a very remarkable superpower, because I think what we've spoken about today, it would really resonate with that. I would love to have one. So I hope this SEO man can generate more such avatars, and there can be one in each team that one could hire. That would really be helpful. Okay, Sam, thank you again. Thanks a lot for joining us today and making this a very, very enlightening conversation. Thank you to our listeners for staying with us. If you're interested in learning more about Denave's AI-powered demand generation solutions, visit us at www.denave.com. And of course, for more episodes of Den Pulse, catch us on Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube for some dynamic discussions with industry leaders like Sam himself. Have a good rest of the day, everyone. Thanks, Sam. Thank you once again.